Hello, everybody, and
Hello.
welcome to CLCO
Hi.
Live.
Welcome in.
Welcome.
It's another wonderful week. And this week we are talking about highly sensitive people.
How to deal with highly sensitive people.
How to deal with
How
highly
to do life as a highly sensitive person.
How to handle highly sensitive people.
What happens when you're coaching highly sensitive people? What if you're a highly sensitive person and a coach? There's so many things.
Yes, so many things.
Before we get started, quick reminder, everybody, to please go ahead and make sure that you join in the conversation. We want to hear from you. We love hearing from you. And comment, like, and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe as well. That's important. And we just introduced our topic already. So let's talk about highly sensitive people, shall we?
Also, this is a continuation of Emotions 101.
Oh, yeah, it is. But we're continuing our Emotions 101 topics. So, all righty. What do we... I'm just going to, first and foremost say that anything we say in this is we're exploring the topic. If you are you'll find that many of us here actually probably are highly sensitive people. So
yeah, I went off the
all of
Richter
us?
scales. I
Wait
went
a
off the
second,
Richter scale.
All of us but Anthony. All of us but Anthony are
Jerome?
HSPs.
Jerome, are you a highly sensitive person?
I didn't have to take the test to know that one.
Yeah, right?
Just
Exactly.
knew.
Yeah, I did the research, so I fit into that definitely.
So I'm the odd one out. I'm not a highly sensitive person, except in one regard. I hate noises that I do not control or emanate myself.
That's the
Especially
one
when
that
I'm
didn't
working
fit
or
me.
focusing.
That's weird.
I get pissed off when there's other noises invading my space.
I don't think you do. I don't really. You do?
Like when Brooke watches the TV while I'm trying to work, I don't like that. When Brooke talks to me when I'm being silent, I don't like that. When I'm trying to read and I can hear Brooke in the other room, I don't like that.
Is it safe to say you don't like her?
No.
Thank you, Anthony.
No, it's actually been that way since I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I noticed it maybe 10 years ago. Just like I'm trying to do something, and my mother, who's working from home, is like quietly typing on the keyboard in the other room. I get mad at it that I can hear it. But it's a noise thing. It's not like a personal thing.
I agree. Me and my brother both suffer from misophonia, which is...
I had to look that up.
Yeah.
And I get it.
Like fight or flight gets initiated in certain situations with him. So like growing up with him was always fun because mine is like eating can do it, but it doesn't get to be too bad. But it's like if you can't eat chips or crackers in the same room as him, if he's not eating chips and crackers, he will go and he gets mad. So like we have something to be aware of. And then like my dad is a heavy breather because we all have deviated septums, and like both my brother and I, like being around my dad and his breathing at times when we were younger would be like, we're gonna kill somebody. This is driving me nuts. And it just certain sounds make me crazy. Absolutely, they do.
Other than that, what does it mean to be a highly sensitive person, though?
Yeah, what's like the clinical definition, or not clinical, but like official?
Let me tell you. One moment.
I was like, did any of us even put an official definition down? I don't think we.
So all I wrote was, activated nervous system.
Activated nervous system.
Yeah. But I don't feel like that's fully descriptive.
And that's where I wonder too, because like I'm ADHD diagnosed, and so like I wonder if like, because we have a unique neurosystem too, like that there's a whole thing. So I wonder how much like overlap there.
Here's a good definition. I'm citing from Very Well Mine.
Oh, okay, I've got
a highly sensitive person is a neurodivergent individual
What?
Neurodivergent.
Yeah.
It's
Seriously?
you are, Jen.
I'm neurodivergent?
You are.
There's a lot of confusion between, I was doing
Uh,
research, in autism and being highly sensitive.
Let me continue.
It's confusion.
Who is thought to have an increased or deeper central nervous system sensitivity to physical, emotional, or social stimuli. Some refer to this as having sensory processing sensitivity, SPS for short. So it's not just like an emotional response. It's like it has to do with the central nervous system and sensitivity to stimuli, which can be emotional, but also physical or social. So I've got the physical one with loud noises that angers me. But it could be emotional, like when we talk. I think like before highly sensitive person became like a diagnosis, people who were emotionally sensitive, like you would say, "Oh, you're being too sensitive. Like, why don't you stop being so sensitive?" Social stimuli could refer to joint success in the comments. Autism or Tourette's might have a social sensitivity, not dealing well with being in crowds, things like that, or even like introverts.
I feel like there's a lot of like overlap from other neurodivergent people, and like I'm not sure, like it's hard, like I don't know. I think you like HSP comes along with a lot of other neurodivergence in a lot of ways.
But what it seems like is that you can be HSP and not have any other sort of neurodivergent or emotional sort of diagnoses. You could just be a highly sensitive person if you have a lot of the traits.
Well, I think isn't being highly sensitive a trait, not a diagnosis?
I think
that's a good question.
Is.
So they were calling it a personality when I was reading about it.
I think it's a trait. Yeah. So that's what I mean. I think it can be a trait of a lot of other neurodivergence that go on. And so it's not a diagnosis. It's just a trait that we might have. And I think it definitely shows up in a lot of ways. And one of the things to go to and think about is starting before we get to the emotional piece of this. There is a definite physical piece to this. So they can be sensitive to pain, hunger, light, noise, a lot of those kind of things. Texture, that's for me. Like texture on clothing is so important to me. Because if it's not a texture I can handle, I run screaming. Like, what is something like that makes it like nails on a chalkboard to you? Like
nails on a chalkboard.
Texture is nails on a chalkboard to me. Like the feeling of cotton balls rubbing together.
Yeah, that's awful. Just the thought of that was
makes my skin crawl.
So everybody made fun of me because I have to wear my socks inside out. Why?
Because of the seam.
I'm going to make fun of you right now. The seam?
Yeah, because of the seam. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wiggling my toes right now. I can feel the seam, but it doesn't bother me.
Oh my gosh. I get migraines when I have too much light.
Yeah.
What if I got you a sock that was all seams, Lisa?
I wouldn't wear it.
She would appreciate the gift and forever think of it as a kind thing, but she would not utilize it.
That's what Brooke said.
Except for maybe to remind her of you.
And that's true. I do have a tendency to do that. I keep things because of the emotional attachment to them.
So like if we're taking that sort of, I think that's where we start. If we start with just how our physical senses can feel overwhelmed or feel, like there's we can be a lot sensitive to things. It can feel like a lot of sensitivity to different things. That in itself can be overwhelming without adding in like the fact that we are sensitive to things maybe that cause emotional distress in us. And we'll talk about the positive parts of this as well, but I thought it was interesting that one of the things that HSPs avoid is like violent stuff.
Yep.
Which is funny because like I avoid real life violent stuff, but like if it's fake, like if it's a movie and like I'm run to it, I'm like, yeah, that's awesome.
Oh,
But
wow.
I know it's fake. So like
I can't do it.
if it's like real human stuff, I totally avoid it. I don't want to.
Like what's that? There was that show with the dragons. What's that show? Everybody.
House of the Dragons.
House of Dragon.
Yeah, that one.
How to Tame Your Dragon.
Or
No.
a Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
I fast forward through all the fighting.
You're
I
fast
couldn't
forwarding
watch
through
it.
the whole episode.
I couldn't watch it.
Much.
I had to tap out when they decapitated a horse. I said,
Oh
I
my
can't. I
gosh.
can't do
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I'm out. This is
I fast
haunting me
forwarded.
forever.
Yeah.
Jerome, do you like violence?
Just the way Brooke does. If I see it like on my feed and I know it's real, or if it's even just a fight that breaks out in public or something like that, I know I used to just get away from those when I was in school.
I am so
I hated it, but on
different from
TV,
you
yeah.
guys. That is so interesting.
Yeah, I cannot.
There's
Wait,
there.
Jerome, can you
Anthony,
handle
like,
it in shows?
Anthony will be watching
Yeah.
things and I'll be like, "What are you watching, Anthony?" And then I'll be, and he knows like whether or not I can handle whatever it is. I'm like, "Are people dying? Is bad things happening?"
No, you'll be sitting next to me on the couch and like you'll hear screaming and people yelling on like from my computer. There was a funny bit of like Tom Segura, like the comedian, who's talking to his wife, and his wife's like, "Yeah, you wake up in the morning and you just have a steady diet of like human conflict. Like the first thing you wake up on." I was laughing about that, which I've also I've from a non highly sensitive person. No, we don't live together.
No, we don't live together, but we.
God, I would go crazy.
They don't live far from each other though.
Yeah, it's a professional workspace that we interact in. No, but I've also worked jobs that had violence as a component. Like I worked as a security guard in a casino, and that was never a problem for me. That was probably one of the more interesting parts of the job because the rest was so boring the rest of the time.
Yeah.
But
I can handle weirdly I can handle like in-person gore. Like if somebody is injured, I'm like the first one to run over and help and like put it, and I can look at it and see, and like that doesn't bother me. Like I don't know why, like, but if it's like on TV, I'm like,
I think it might be a conflict thing. I think highly sensitive people tend to like from the physical side, just like confrontation, but I think on the emotional side, not just like violence, but like arguments, conflict, things like that, tend to trigger highly sensitive people, and they don't like or try to avoid situations that might have conflict in them.
I mean, who likes conflict? Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess some people do, but like my preference is just to like have like a calm, cool, and collected sort of existence.
Mm-hmm.
That's way better. Like, okay, so real life example, my neighbors were like arguing with each other.
Give us the tea about your neighbors.
There's still there's conflict in my little house that has been converted into apartments essentially, and like there's a new woman that's moved in and she's pushing buttons and like all this, and at first I was like, I'm not gonna say anything, and then I was like, I am gonna say something. But I said it in like the most PC kind of way, but like the way my body physically reacts in those situations, like my heart rate raises, I feel anxious. I was like, I'm not gonna be able to sleep because like I just feel unsettled.
That's another symptom of being highly sensitive, is being a mediator, being a good mediator.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to like bring some understanding. I gave up though because there's one that just doesn't. It's either flying right over her head or she doesn't care. So.
Hello, Marquel and Dwight from Facebook.
Hi, welcome in, guys.
Opposite end of the spectrum from all the bad stuff about being a highly sensitive person, being highly touched by beauty or emotionality. Brooke, you cry all the time during movies. Every movie you've ever watched, you've cried during.
Good, bad, happy makes me cry, sad makes me cry.
Yes.
You put a manta ray on the TV and I'll start to cry. Like, like I cry at everything.
My daughters make fun of me. They go, Mom, are you crying? and they won't have even looked at me because they just know the sound I make.
Yeah, no, same Z's, totally same.
Yeah, I'm
Jerome,
the same.
do you?
And then they
Yeah,
go
but
to bed.
nobody will know it if I do. All the time, though.
Yeah.
The score is designed for it in some way. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The score is
Mhm.
so critical, man. So critical. And music is so like moving to me. Like music
Mhm.
and I had to learn like if angry music is on, it can make me angry. Like I can like it will affect my mood. I am very much affected by music, and so like I prefer happy, peppy, good, positive lyric music. I used to be different when I was in my 20s, and I think that's why part of the reason I was so like angsty.
So this is so interesting to me because you can do violence in TV and movies. I can't. You can't do angry music. I can do angry music all day, every day, and I'm still happy-go-lucky.
I can like it depends, but yeah, no, it'll put me in a mood. It totally will. I think
Wow.
part of the reason that I can handle gore and violence is because I did
Oh,
that for a living.
That's
So, like,
true.
it became like an art. Like, how am I going to create this? You know, body exploding, and like, how do I make it look like somebody's head just crashed into a windshield?
Right,
Like,
right.
and so
Okay,
it
okay.
became like a science.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I like Steve's comment.
But definitely, I stopped listening. I mean, man, I was like a goth metal industrial kid. And I have gone the other direction these days. I'm like, no, I like happy, peppy, and not like too happy. I'm not listening to Taylor Swift all day. Don't get me wrong. I mean, not that her lyrics are happy, right? Aren't they all breakup songs?
I don't know. I don't listen to her.
But I listen to soul. Like I like listening to soul music. Soul music.
We were getting into the
positive parts.
mhm.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I read was also highly empathic, highly intuitive, highly observant, and I thought, oh, wonderful coaching qualities, of course.
I think you'll find a lot of HSP type people drawn to the coaching field. I think it's that natural mediation, that natural
I was
sensitivity.
going to say that in the helping industry, I think they're drawn to the helping industry, whatever that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think they're drawn on the client side to coaching? Do you think more people who seek out coaching for themselves are highly sensitive people?
Well,
That's a
so
good question.
I think in the experience of the coaching process, a lot of people who have been coached are people who want to become coaches. So if we're going by that measurement of what we know about coaches, is that a lot of them are HSPs, and a lot of them were coached before they decided they wanted to become a coach and start doing the same thing. I would assume that would mean that yes, a lot of clients that are HSPs are drawn to coaching.
Yeah, I would think so too.
Well,
I mean, go ahead,
yeah,
Lisa.
go ahead. Oh, I was just going to say, I think that a lot of people who come to coaching aren't recognizing of those that are what's the acronym, HSP? I don't think they recognize that they're highly sensitive, and they've shut some of that down so that they have kind of lost who they are in the process. And so coming to either, whether it's an extreme kind of thing where therapy is needed or through coaching, I think they can discover what their boundaries are and reignite their space and who they are. So HSP, is that part of the process? Are most of us in that space already? Maybe.
Yeah, for me, it helped me understand myself. Now, I've been in both coaching and therapy, but coaching really helped me. The reflective inquiry style of coaching really helped me like hear my own thoughts, see my own mind, and understand myself more. And then also strategize of like, okay, how do I want to handle this? Because this is part of who I am. So to me, coaching was really helpful. I mean, it wasn't anything like where, the coach said, "Oh, you're a highly sensitive person." It wasn't anything like that. It was just like, "Oh, I'm noticing this. And it's like, yeah, I do that. And okay, what do you want to do about that? Well, I want to actually have a little bit of a plan for when this happens, because this is a reoccurring thing."
And that's what I want to put out there, Jen, like you just said. We don't label it. We don't tell people that's what they are. We don't, by any means. We learn these things so we can learn what kinds of ways to ask people or be aware of what they're saying. Go ahead, Jen. Brooke.
I think also one of the things that was brought up about HSPs is that they have a rich internal goings on. So like they have being by themselves, their inner dialogue, their inner processes are rich and full, and like there's a lot of and totally identify with that, because there's just a plethora of madness happening inside this head, and I can hang out honestly and entertain myself alone for long periods of time and get absolutely nothing done. Like, but I'm just in, thinking and doing and planning and just like all this world, this rich inner world that we have apparently as HSPs. But I think that ties into why those kind of people wanting to get into coaching, because they're people who internalize, self-reflect, go into those spaces, and probably want to understand, are more inclined to understand what's going on with them, and seek out that kind of knowledge, that kind of understanding. I can't say more so, but I can say that I would assume those kind of folks and folks with those traits would be drawn to, like you said, Jen, a process or a way where they can understand themselves better, understand their internal processes better, and then also utilize that to better function in the world, or function more successfully in the world. And I could see that why coaching could be a very powerful tool for HSPs, and something they're innately drawn to.
I had somebody get really mad at me for doing that. I don't remember what the issue was, but there was some sort of issue. And because I self-reflect and, think about the process and what occurred and what could I do differently, and try and find the growth in that moment, so that doesn't happen again, or so the reaction doesn't happen again, whatever is going on there. Somebody got mad that I overanalyzed and I was overly sensitive to that process, and I had to think about that for a while. Now I'm as I am that person, and I had to reflect it. No, I'm really learning and trying to grow, and not make that same mistake again, because I got plenty others that I can make. I don't need to make the same one. So that's my reflection.
The top 3 things to not say to a highly sensitive person: you're overreacting, you're overthinking, you're too sensitive. No.
What about calm down?
Oh, no, yeah, I was just going to say, calm down.
Relax.
But my immediate reaction, has that ever worked for anybody? Has telling someone to calm down ever worked?
Right. Like, can we not just recognize that calm down doesn't work? Like, take a breath is so much
breathe.
more helpful.
Just say, like, take a breath.
But shut up.
You're okay. You're okay. Okay. Everything is okay.
Oh my gosh.
And there's like, I think that is that physical reaction. Like, I get a physical reaction. And that's where that overwhelm comes in. And like, I think that HSPs can very much relate to this in many ways. One of the things I wonder too is if it's something that, if it's our neurosystem, or but that's something that it is always changing and growing in it as we're growing up. I grew up in a broken house, and one half of the house was not the nicest environment. And I was the oldest, and so I felt like I had to develop I was always on this alert and ears perked for, how is my night going to be? Is everything going to be okay? Will I be able to relax? And I was always listening for something to go wrong. And so that I could hop in and maybe make the situation better, or make it so that it wasn't. And it's like you end up in a very anxious state. And I had a lot of anxiety. And I really connected with this when we discussed about empaths, about how a lot of people who are very empathetic had some kind of something going on in their childhood where they had to be hyper attuned to somebody in their life that could cause a lot of problem or drama, essentially. And so they became attuned to that person so that they could navigate through those situations and try to mitigate the damage, calm that situation down. And so they essentially finely tuned those empathetic muscles. And so they are capable of walking into a room and looking around them and identifying in the room who might be the person that is going to react in a way that doesn't make that empathetic person feel comfortable, whatever that may be. And it can be anger, sadness, whatever, but they're going to be not only very capable of handling that situation when it happens, but also attuning into who might be the person to present that emotion. And I wonder too if it's a similar situation with HSPs, where it's something that as they're growing up, they end up attuning their skill set to being sensitive for one reason or another. I mean, there's obviously serious neurodivergent paths that happen, and it couples with that. But I just wonder too if there's a little bit of overlap.
Yeah. So to answer Join's success question, is there's overlap of anxiety and HSP? It might be HSP might develop because of an environmental response to an anxious situation, or the reverse could happen. You could just naturally be a highly sensitive person and not getting the attention, or not knowing really coping mechanisms to it might cause anxiety, because you're always in these situations that are exacerbating your sensitivities. So definite overlap, but they can also be completely distinct from one another.
Exactly. And I think that there have been studies where they found that there are, I mean, it can be anxiety, it can overlap with some levels of depression and other, things that happen. And so it becomes a learning process, I think, for people with HSP, with how do I function best in the world, knowing that I'm highly sensitive, right? But it's also got superpower, like all these things. I mean, everything, as a neurodivergent human being, there's always a superpower that's involved. There's both sides, 100%.
Yeah, the ability to, and this is something I've always had, but the ability to be in a room with people and to be able to pick up when someone's uncomfortable, like that's absolutely a superpower. Like I've always just had that instinct to be able to do that. And I never realized how much I actually enjoy the fact that I can do that until pretty recently, where I was like, oh, that's actually a really nice trait.
You know what coaching did for me, though, that's like kind of freeing, and I love it, is that there is a fixer in me before that would feel like the need to go in and fix for that person who is uncomfortable and make everybody happy and make everything good. And that person doesn't, like, I know now that that's okay. Like I can identify, but I can also just let that person sit in whatever emotion you're feeling. I don't have to fix it. And like that's a really cool thing that I learned through the coaching process. And that's okay, and it's probably better than trying to fix it. I can be curious about it and ask them questions and things like that, but I don't have to fix that emotion. And that was really a powerful tool for me to learn, especially as an HSP that was a fixer and a people pleaser. I think, we're probably also very closely tied to each other, because you're trying to maintain this Zen environment that you can exist in and not feel and then learning or giving yourself permission to like let people just be how they're going to be.
Right. So before it was like I needed to control the environment in order to feel okay. And now since coaching, it's like, no, I can feel okay regardless of the environment.
Yeah, and you know, it's so funny when we were taking these HSP tests. That was one of the questions, like that I had to sit. It was like, "Are you affected by people's emotions?" And I would have to sit, and I would go, "Well, not anymore."
Right. Same with me. Yep.
I try not to be. You know, I might be a little bit, but I know that I like.
At your strongest self, where you are at your neutral, strongest self, the answer would be different than when you are not in your best place.
So true.
Yes.
So if you were to take the both of those, does that make the answer yes? Sometimes, not often. I mean, if you were to think about that now, where do you think you would fall in that if there were option category?
I mean, for me, it's yes. And I've learned how to be okay or not take it on, or have a separation between me and other people. I understand that their mood is their mood, and that it's not my responsibility. I had this weird moment where I learned, this was a couple of years ago, that it's not my responsibility to like take on other people's emotions. And it was like, oh, why have I been doing that? Like, that's been so much responsibility to take on. And so for me, it's like, yes, I can be, but I have the tools to not be. So it's a no now. It was a yes, though, previously.
So does it become an observation now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think but so it depends too in the situation as well. Like, there are moments where it's easy, and I dare say there are even moments where I have blind spots, both chosen blind spots and not chosen blind spots, moments where I'm just ignoring and moving, or moments that maybe I'm so focused on some emotion here that I'm not picking up on something. There's something I'm not seeing or thinking about. But I will say there are those times where it is work for me to, and what comes to mind for me is like, anytime I'm driving a car and somebody else is like mad at me for something I do, like they flip me off, or and like, I still have to say to myself this whole thing, like, that probably really genuinely has nothing to do with you. They're just having a bad day. They're in their car. And like, I have like these little mantras that go through my head so that I don't take it personally. Like, and I still have to do the work. Like, it's not like an innate thing. I have to do the work for me to get to that spot that it's not affecting me.
Yeah. It's not your default setting, but it's available.
Yeah, exactly.
What were you going to say, Anthony?
Oh, I was just say I either curse at him or say a slur and then just keep driving.
Oh my God. So traffic and driving is a huge a sensitivity to me. So because I work from home, I don't drive often. I really don't. I go to the grocery store, and I go to, restaurants every now and then, but I don't really drive a lot. I used to, and I don't anymore. And now whenever I go out and I drive, especially if I have to get on the highway, it is like a super high stimulus where I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I used to do this every day. This is so uncomfortable.
I went through that phase, and then like I've come back to like a place where I've kind of like chill while I'm driving. I'm so thankful that my car kind of like the cruise control on it is so nice, and like I can just and I just try to like stay relaxed. I like, the biggest thing I have to tell myself is I'm not in a rush. I'm not like, it's not a big deal. I don't have to take anything personal, whatever people are doing. I do like get frustrated with other people. Like, wish everybody else on the road were in the same like chill mindset as me. Come on, man. Are you really in that? Where do you think you're going that fast? That's not, like I really wish, but I know I can't do that. But I don't know. I do. I can't. Yeah, I agree. There are moments where I can find it relaxing, and I kind of just like put on a podcast, find a happy place. I mean, this is because I have to drive a lot because of the things I love to do are not nearby. So I'm driving 2 hours or 3 hours to get to places. Well, it's sometimes 3. Hopefully just 2 hour and a half.
Does it change if somebody's in the car with you, Brooke? Oh, by the way, you're Lisa Fink. We just know.
I am Lisa Fink. Look at me. I just noticed that too. Oh, that's funny.
Oh my gosh.
Does it change? Yes. I will say, especially in a car situation, I will be more easily affected by the emotions of somebody I am in such a small space with.
Yes.
So like probably I will try to get whoever I'm driving with to be chill and cool and okay. Like no matter what anybody else is doing, let's not freak out. Let's be chill and cool, and let's try to keep that vibe going.
So wait, how do you drive in the car with Anthony then if he yells at people and flicks them off? Like how does that work?
Or I'll be like, it's not a big deal. It's okay, Anthony. It's not a big deal. It's okay. Like that's me. I'm just trying to.
It's easy for you to say when you're the passenger, Princess.
Are you okay? Let's get to the Zen space. Just try to do what we need to get to that Zen.
Pissed off 24/7 when I'm in the car.
So we know in California, especially Orange County, but where you guys, Jerome, Brooke, and Anthony live, you all are in another busy area. But Orange County, California, there's always traffic and really bad drivers. When I moved out here to the Springs, Colorado Springs, people would say, "Oh, the traffic's really bad," and I'm like, "Huh."
You have no idea.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So there was like no comparison to what I came from to, what it is here. I've since adapted. Oh my God, there's a lot of traffic now. But seriously, get readjusted when I go back out to Orange County and drive around there because it's crazy. Yeah.
It's gotten a little bit better, but yeah, there's definitely, my favorite thing I've found now, if it's like crazy traffic, I try to get GPS to take me some like weird back way because it's so much more stimulating than like the boring freeway way. I'm like, no, get me off the freeway. Let's do some weird through the canyon, podunk way to get home. Even if it takes an extra 15 minutes, I will at least be conscious and not angry or upset. But yeah, that's so funny. Like it is, there's like, I think you could probably quickly identify HSPs from non-HSPs by just putting them in a car with another human being. Just see what happens. But yeah, I don't like, that's probably, I would say less so now, but honestly, I know it would be some work for me. Like I would hate, but I'm going to say I'd be better with it now, but it would really be one of like the worst situations I can think of being in is like in a situation like stuck in a car or stuck in an elevator with someone who is just endlessly negative.
Oh, God.
And like, just like an energy suck. That is like probably one of my worst nightmares. Especially because I think I could keep the defenses up for so long, but after a while I think it would just wear me down. I really do. Where I would just get miserable in that situation. Yeah, that would probably be one of the worst possible situations I can imagine.
Let's bring it back to coaching.
Yeah.
What are some things a coach needs to be aware of when we are coaching highly sensitive people, whether they tell you they're a highly sensitive person or you can tell from the signs that they're highly sensitive?
Well, from what I've read, the deeper processing is probably really important to give that client more space to make sure you fully pause and let them get all of their thoughts out. Sometimes they're going to, when they make like my eyes, this is what I do when I'm thinking. So if I'm being coached and I'm like this, you should probably not be talking because I'm in like a full thought process. So that would be one that I would say is pick up on when your client is in processing. What are they doing? And just know that they need that time.
I've noticed clients who are highly sensitive people, they're not going to be so focused on like problem and solution and the process of just achieving their goal. It's not like you're doing project management. You are coaching. It lends itself better to coaching in a lot of regards because you get to coach the person, not the problem.
Yeah.
but sometimes it can lead to rabbit holes. And it's not entirely clear to the coach, or it's not entirely apparent to the coach, where do we go from here, or like what is the actual thing you want to be coached on. Because there's a lot of deeper stuff under the surface going on with highly sensitive people, rather than I have a goal, what is the best way I can achieve my goal?
Yeah.
XYZ, here you go, we'll send you on your way.
Yeah, it's not a linear coaching with the HSP.
I think I would also really want to make sure that the HSP is making decisions based on what they want most, based on what is going to bring them the most like fulfillment, and not making decisions because it's going to like create the most, the least amount of ripples, or or things like that. Because I would guess that HSPs might be sort of willing to, in order to mediate situations in their world, willing to set aside maybe things that might bring them more internal satisfaction for the sake of creating peace, or for the sake of things of that nature. And so I would just really, like Anthony said, coach the person and get into that deeper space with them and find out what is motivating their choices and where they want to go, and then really tapping into the whys of that and of their goals, and getting them in touch with that emotional relevance. I think is a very powerful tool in working with an HSP.
I think it's important to know the client as best as you can, because what you're talking about, what I have labeled, if you will, they choose the right answer versus their answer. Right? The right answer serves the greater good, or the greater, but it doesn't actually answer what is their truth based on what they've shared. So you have to be a participant with them as they are sharing with you, and every session you'll pull things through so that when you're in that session and they're answering, what best serves them and what's the best option in that moment, you'll recognize, is it the right answer? Is it their answer? And that's going to be a really benefit to them as well.
Yeah.
I think another one you could bring up is if your client and you're aware that they're HSP, and we already kind of established that HSPs kind of tend to gravitate towards the coaching space. So if you know you're also HSP, you might want to fortify your emotions before that session, because there may be some tears. So you want to make sure that, you're settled and ready to coach.
I think it's a really powerful tool for coaches who are HSP to like tap into and harness, is that knowledge that you don't have to take on the emotions of your client. You don't have to, that's not your job to do that. You can hold the space. You're not fixing, like, all of the tools that we teach as coaches are powerful tools, I think, for an HSP to learn. Right. I think really tapping into that coaching tool set is really beneficial for the HSP type person. I think it's interesting too, because like what Anthony has shared in the past, like, he'll just outright say, like, I don't care what, they're gonna, I'm not attached to the outcome. I'm not like, he's like genuinely not. And it makes so much more sense that we are like gobsmacked by the fact that he can't be, we're all HSPs. And it makes so much more sense. So
yeah, it's true though. All of the coaching skills have allowed me to have better relationships with people and communicate better with people. So whether I used what I learned in class to coach or just used it for personal growth, it still has a huge benefit. And I think that is so amazing. And that is why in my bio on our website, it's like, I'm rooting for everyone who wants to learn how to coach, because I really, truly believe that these skills, they're not just for coaches. They're for communication. They're for relationships. They're for personal growth. And I mean, truly, it's made a world of a difference for me as I guess now an HSP.
Yes.
One of those that we're in psychology classes and learning all the psychology jargon and words, and are we now wearing the things that we read about?
Right, I know. I'm probably not gonna call myself that or like identify as that, but like I'm definitely aware that I have those traits.
Yeah.
Well, luckily, I just looked. HSP is not in the DSM-5, so feel free to diagnose away. Diagnose.
No diagnosing. No diagnosing. No, just say no.
Final thoughts. Let's go to our final thoughts, folks.
This is a good topic. Thanks for bringing it up. I think discussing it and taking that silly little test was fun. I think understanding different personalities and are an important piece of even coaching so that we can adapt to who we're working with.
Yeah, this was interesting to me. Before doing some research on it today and yesterday, I wasn't too familiar with it, but I am pretty interested in it. I'm going to delve a little bit deeper because there's a lot of interest. I know it's a relatively new term that was coined anything like in the 90s, but I'm glad we got to have this conversation.
Yeah, I am too. I think for me, it made me realize that I have been tackling these pieces of me for quite some time without really understanding it as, a larger zoomed out lens, which now today I see as, highly sensitive person traits for sure. I thought it was just quirkiness or weirdness or like, I'm just so random sometimes with things, but no.
You are still all those things, Jen. They're all still a part of you.
Not let you take those pieces away.
It is such a cool feeling. I'll know, like when I got diagnosed with ADHD, and like before you think you are, you're not sure. And I had a late diagnosis, and so like you feel like you've got all these just like weird things about you, and then all of a sudden now you have like a greater way to, or a bigger way to understand those things, and like by researching it you can learn like tools and like all of it, and it's just like this, you don't have to adopt the label necessarily, but it's like something, a way for you to learn more about yourself, and sort of there are people who have done things that maybe you've never thought of, and you kind of, it's just a neat.
Yeah.
Well, I think it also allows you to be more empathetic in a way that you weren't aware of before as you learn these things too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It also helps me to understand that people have collections of traits similar to this, right? I had this idea that I was the only one that was scared by loud noises, stuff like that. And it's like, no, this is actually a good, 15 to 20% of the population have this collection of sensitivities. Yeah. Anthony?
Coming from like an outsider's perspective, highly sensitive people are just like you and me, They put their pants on one leg at a time in the morning.
As long as the seam is on the outside, though.
Yeah, as long as those pants are inside out, yeah. I don't have a lot of
comfortable. As long as it is a soft fabric. I literally go through stores and I feel like that's how I shop. I'm feeling fabrics, and then when I find like a kind of fabric, I'll buy 100. What?
Here's a final thought: if you're a coach and you're got an office, be aware of what kind of fabric they're sitting in, what kind of noises are going on. If you have any smells or scents, just turn off like the scent thing that's plugged into the wall.
Please don't chew
while we're really quietly, and don't eat around them. Tiptoe if you have to, and don't speak too loud. You might startle them. That's it. That's my final thought. Brooke, your final thought?
My final thought is that it's a big label for a lot of people, but I think that there are probably elements, just like with Anthony, noises can bother him. So we probably all have moments where we are extra sensitive, and that's being human. and that's okay. And as with everything, awareness is a wonderfully powerful tool. So just being aware that this exists, being aware that people have sensitivities, being aware that you may have your own sensitivities is just a tremendously powerful tool for personal growth and social interaction and doing better as a coach, all of these things. Awareness is just a really, really big tool to help us function better in the world. So
well said.
Agreed. All right.
That'll finish it up. We're done talking about our feelings and emotions. Next month, what's our topic?
Yeah, what's the next topic?
We have one more week of Emotions 101.
We do?
February's done though.
Yeah, it'll be.
We weren't going like by the month though, because we started this. We screwed everything up. We're all kooky crazy.
Oh, okay.
We were gonna
Poor Anthony has to suffer through.
Emotions.
Anthony has another week
and
of
I also
emotion.
feel like we have to be bound by the months. If we can, I feel like we can talk a little more about emotions. And I kind of really wanted us to tap into vulnerability next week.
Oh, you're right.
Okay.
Did talk about that.
And I wanted us
like
to talk about what it is to be vulnerable, what it is to be vulnerable as a coach.
Yes, that's good. That's
Like just
good.
various the levels of vulnerability. They just really would like us to get vulnerable.
We have this month is going to be 29 days. That does not happen very often.
Oh, right. Leap year.
Is it leap year?
Yep.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, it's crazy.
February is still next week.
No, it's not.
Okay,
Wait, no.
look at
No, it's March.
No, March starts on Friday.
Oh, so this Thursday is the 29th.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's next week.
No.
No wonder.
So it is.
We're leaping this week.
We're leaping this week.
All right, so we'll be back next week at 4 p.m. to talk about vulnerability. And then after that, we'll move into our March topic. We'll figure out what it's going to be. Don't worry.
March Madness, isn't that the thing?
Yeah.
Ooh. That sounds like more emotion, though.
March insanity. Be sure to like, subscribe, share our content. If you're a highly sensitive person, take our classes.
Yes.
Just do it.
Benefits
I don't care if
so
you want to
much.
be a life coach. Just register and pay for the classes.
And enjoy the classes.
And enjoy the classes. We will not startle you in any way. Okay. Goodbye, everyone.
See you guys.
Bye.